go. Beautiful. So I've turned the heat down. Look at that, rich. That creme is coming through. It's so dark. And we want to keep that flow going exactly like that. We don't want it to go bubbly. The good old Moka Pot. I've got them here. They're coming back into fashion. People still brew with them. So let me show you the best way to brew a Moka Pot, or as we call it here in Australia, a stovetop, so that you get the best brew. So here's a bit of the Bialetti stovetop or Moka Pot range. We do sell them online, so if you're looking for one, jump on and grab yourself one. Now, something that has happened while I've been traveling around Australia, these have been so common. So I've been able to play with them a fair bit lately and give some advice. I've also jumped on all the other YouTube channels and the experts in the industry who have really nailed this down. So a shout out to you guys for doing some great research. I am referencing a few of those, so thank you for doing it. But we just want to share with our audience how to make the best version of a Moka Pot for yourself. So we're first going to need some really good beans, and you do want to have fresh roasted coffee. Now there are a couple of things that you may want to change. So if you're looking for that bolder style flavor, you go for a darker roast. If you're looking for light roast, you'd obviously look at a single origin. But if you're going to add milk with it, definitely head towards the dark roasts, because a Moka Pot will brew not as strong as espresso, but stronger than an AeroPress or a filter. It's really that in-between one. And if you can nail the recipe, which I'm going to help you with, you will get a good balance of all of those flavors for the perfect cup that you want to make. Now, there's a couple of things you do have to think about. You've got to be making sure that temperature and time and recipe, they are the key parts to brewing these. So we're going to throw a few of those old myths out of there. So the first thing is we've got the aluminium Bialetti here. This is the 6-cupper, and I'm going to use that for the demonstration today. Now, people think that they may leave some of that old dodgy, built up inside here to season it. Don't do that. It's really going to just give you a poor flavor. So make sure it's totally clean and dry with the inner parts, and how you're going to store these as well. We don't want to have them super clamped and nice and tight, because you're only going to deteriorate that rubber seal, which is really important. So we've got our top section, we've got our coffee basket here, and this stem goes down into the water. And you've got a base pot there, which you need to think about this little safety valve. So if you did have something go wrong and steam's coming out here, you've got a bit of a problem, and you'd want to take it off the heat straight away. So that's my little safety advice on the stovetop. So what we're going to do is let's work on getting you the right recipe. Now, I obviously say with every brewing device, you've got to work out the recipe. And that's what we're going to do right now. I've got the all-ground grinder here, and it's my favorite grinder at the moment, because we do have options of espresso, Moka Pot, or filter. Now, I've just gone right to the middle setting of Moka, and I found it actually to be very good. So if you've got this grinder, that is the perfect setting. If you don't, what you need to use, if you've got an espresso grinder, you need to go a little bit coarser. We don't want to be right up near our plungers or coarse grinds. So we're a little bit on the closer to paper filter, but not quite there as well. So just coarser than espresso, and we'd start there, and then you can change your grind setting as you need. But this one's nice and easy. So in the 6th cup, we're going to get our dosing pot, and we're going to start with 25 grams of coffee. So we're going to grind out our coffee. And we're using our Champion blend here, and this is 2-week-old. So we've allowed it to degas a bit and give us, hopefully, a wonderful flavor in the stovetop here. So we've got 20 grams. So we've got our 25 grams of coffee. Now, we can't put that straight into our Moka Pot. We do have to prepare it first. So we're going to remove our top here. And there's a bit of debate whether you start with cold water or hot water, but from my research, it's hot. You want this thing to be hot and ready to brew, so that we're not going to affect the coffee while you're starting to heat up that water. So I'm going to get myself 250 mils of hot water, which is just below this safety valve. So if you're not sure, you only ever want to fill maybe 5 millimeters below the safety valve. So when the water starts to boil, it creates the steam pressure, and then that forces the water down and back up through the bottom of the spout. and percolate up through the coffee grinds, ending in the top chamber. So it's a bit of a reverse style brewing that you might have with any alternative brewing or espresso machine, where the water comes from the top down through the coffee. So we want to make sure that we've got the hot water here ready to go. This is clean and dry. And remember, when you're thinking about hot water, make sure you start with fresh water in your kettle when you're reboiling it. Don't just keep topping it up. You're only getting more minerals into your water. We're going to pop the base on our scale here. We'll tear it off, and I'm going to fill that up, and it's 250 grams to get our recipe here. Great. So this is now hot. So you do want to have yourself a cloth so that you can work with the hot of the moka pot. I'm just going to put that out the way for the moment. And we're going to work on putting our coffee into our filter basket. Now, a little hack that I found, it's pretty hard to kind of balance that on the bench, and we don't really want to do it in the water because it will actually start to then steam. So I've got one dosing pot here, and I found using a second dosing pot allows me to actually hold this up nice and easy. So pop your dosing pot down or any other vessel that might hold it upright, and it's much easier to work with. So we want to then pop in our 25 grams of coffee, and you might just want to sort of go halfway and give it a bit of a level out. And a tap just to collapse that coffee. There we go. Now, depending on what kind of grinder you've got, we want to then work with a bit of distribution or anti-clumping. So I do recommend using a WDT. It's only going to help the coffee grinds work better. So we're going to just give that a little bit of a WDT, and you can see there's just a couple little clumps there that are formed. A bit of a tap as well, just to not let it overflow. There we go. And you don't want to tamp this down or put any pressure on it. So we just want it naturally to expand when the water comes through, hit the shower screen that's on the top of the top part of the brewer, and then start to brew through. So we're going to grab our coffee bed now, and there's one little hack now. It's really up to you. If you're looking for that bold style coffee, we know that adding a paper filter is going to give us a cleaner, crisper cup of coffee. So if you put one of these on the top, you're going to get a much nicer, cleaner cup. If you're looking for body, you wouldn't put one of these in. So that's really a decision you need to make. In this example, I'm going to use one. And what we're going to do is actually pop it onto our filter basket here. And the easiest way to do that is to pop it in. This one was just a little bit wet, but if we pop a little bit of water on the top of that, it will sit in place easier for brewing. Now, I bet you're thinking, am I washing that to get rid of the paper taste? Well, that was really in older paper filters. It's not necessarily the case here now. So this is an AeroPress paper filter, which we know are pretty good. So we're going to bring over our hot water again. We're going to pop in our coffee, and we're going to tighten this up nice and firm. It is quite hot on the bottom there still, so keep that tea towel handy. And just a nice snug fit. Now, we've got a gas cooker here, so it is pretty instantaneous. If you've got an induction hob, that'll be pretty quick as well. If you've got an electric hot plate, definitely have that hot and ready to go before you start to brew. Now, what we're trying to do is get the water to come up through into the top vessel here, but we want to have control over that. So temperature surfing is what the terms are being used. We want to be able to monitor that. So I'm using the smallest gas burner I have here, and I've actually got it on high to start, and then I'm going to reduce that heat. So I'm going to pop that on now. And we're going to start to listen. You really have to focus in and watch what's happening. You're going to hear a slight little hiss, and that's when the water has boiled, the pressure and the steam's built up, and it's starting to force the water down and come up through that little stem at the bottom. The minute I hear that, I'm actually going to reduce down to low heat. So get in here, keep control, don't get someone interrupt you in this process, because you don't want to wreck your brew. Now we're watching to see what happens out the top. We're going to get that rich color to start, but then we will start to see it speed up and bubble and go quite fast. Now I'm going to cut it off a little bit earlier. I do like a richer flavor. I don't want to overbrew it. It does start to go really crazy and you definitely want to stop it at that point. So through my tests, I've been putting 250 ml of water in and getting about 160 ml out when I've finished my brew. So we'll see what we end up with once we've done this. We want to decant it and weigh the liquid, and then we can get ourselves a bit of a recipe. But generally what you're going to end up in the top of the pot is 2/3 of the water that you put in the bottom. You won't get it all through because that little stem doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Now we play the waiting game. Sorry for interrupting. I hope you're enjoying the content and thanks for watching. Have you seen our home barista manual? This thing has everything in it that we talk about through our YouTube channel as a guide that you can use at home and implement simply to make amazing espresso. It doesn't matter if you've got an entry-level machine like this or a high-end coffee machine from Italy, it's going to take your espresso to the next level. We cover things like dialing in a specific recipe for your machine, using some of these really cool tools to eliminate channeling and getting better extraction yields. You're going to be able to learn how to froth silky milk and pour amazing latte art so that you can impress all of your friends. This also has how to clean your machine and care and maintenance. The manual's available on our website as a digital download worldwide. Use the code YTBarista10 and you'll save 10% off our already discounted price. Do yourself a favor, go and download it now. There you go, little whistle happening. You can hear that starting to brew. I'm getting ready to turn the gas down as soon as I see that come out because I don't want to overheat this. Now, if you can't control it with gas, you can pick up your brewer by the handle and take it off the heat and bring it back if you need to. But we want to get a steady, constant flow coming out the top of this spout. Here we go. Beautiful. So I've turned the heat down. Look at that. Rich. That crema's coming through. It's so dark. And we want to keep that flow going exactly like that. We don't want it to go bubbly or increase. We want to get a nice steady flow. Now you can see it is dark and rich. It is going to start to change as we extract more and more out of that cup of coffee. I'm watching little bubble sizes. We don't want to see them go crazy. It will start to change in just a moment. If you've got a real intense brew, you just pull it off now. But if you want to get a bit more of that flavor there you go. You can start to see it's changing color. The bubbles are starting to get a little bit larger. And for me, I'm going to cut that off right now. There you go. You can see that just started to bubble up a little bit. I'm going to close the lid, take it straight over the sink and cool that brew right down. So by cooling it down, the hot water is now not coming up through the coffee. So it's just like stopping your extraction and not overbrewing. Now, pop that aside for a second. And we're going to decant this straight away. So there you go, there's our brew, nice and rich, dark. All right, got my trusty scale, so we're going to measure what our brew is so we can get our recipe. We'll pour all that off. Well, there you go, I've gone nice and rich and full-bodied and only got 104 or 105 mils or 105 grams of liquid through it. So it's going to be rich, it's going to be intense, and that's how I would enjoy this kind of coffee. But you don't want to go too much more. You can see that starting to change and bubble, so maybe only a couple more seconds and you would have got another 50 grams, and that's probably the max you want to be, 150 grams, maybe 160 out of that 250 ml of water. And that's going to give you that perfect cup. Now remember, I did have the paper filter in here, so this is a cleaner, richer brew. Now, what do you do with this? Well, a lot of people might just want to drink it straight as a black coffee, or you can put some cold milk in there if you like. But the best thing that I find is you want to now start to understand how strong or how rich this recipe is, and then start to work with it for yourself. So I love long blacks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that into a cup, and then I'm going to add a little bit of extra hot water to it to give a bit more balance and a bit more volume of that, that coffee. And that actually starts to take intensity away, but bring through some subtle flavors. So let's do that right now. So we're gonna make 2 coffees for you because we do have this rich, intense coffee here. So I'm going to pour out some into 1 cup, which will be my black coffee, and I'm gonna pour some out for my other cup. Now, as much as we think that it's a 6-cup brewer, that's just a unit of measure. It doesn't mean it makes 6 coffees for people, and what size cup it actually is. That's something you need to work on the recipe. So for me, I've got my hot water here. I'm going to pour this out, and I've got about 30 grams into this cup and filling it up with about another 100 grams of hot water. So that'll give me a beautiful recipe for my black coffee. For milk, I've put the balance of it in there. So I've actually got 70 grams in this cup, which allows it to be a little bit fuller because it's going to start to be cut through quite heavily with a bit of milk. Now, the cup's not quite full, and I don't want to fill all that up with milk, so I am going to just put a dash of water into that one and add some trusty local milk. Thanks, Norco. Always love using your milk. And this will, I guess, give us a bit of a splash of sweetness and change it into more caramel kind of flavors. Now that's quite dark. You might want more of a latte feel, so you can add a little bit more in there. You can see that the color changes as you add more milk. Now you could do a little milk frothing device and heat milk and pour yourself a little latte or something on top of that if you like as well. There's so much versatility out of one style moka pot. So how does it taste? Well, I know this is going to be a little bit hot for me, but okay, that is beautiful. Using that paper filter has made that so much cleaner. I'm getting a lot of florals, good acidity, and much better balance in it. So for me, as a black coffee drinker, I want to use that paper filter. How's it taste with milk? Well, I think it's going to cut through it a little bit. And it has. It's still got that boldness to it though. It's our medium roast champion blend that we've used. That's quite still heavy, I'll be honest, for a moka pot. So that recipe, because I did cut it off quite short, is quite intense. If I went longer, it would be a little bit more mild. So I hope that gives you an understanding of how to make a much better moka pot. Now we do sell these online, so jump on and grab one. And if you've got any questions about how to brew the perfect recipe for yourself, please leave a comment down below. I'll happily answer that for you. And if you haven't yet already, please do hit the bell, and that'll subscribe you to our YouTube channel, and you'll get notified when we put up our latest video. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you all. Cheers. Catch you next time.